Alright Exile, so today I want to give you guys a very straight, direct to the point kind of video. Just give you guys an idea of what you need to know before jumping into the early access launch on December the 6th. A lot of players have some questions that surprisingly still haven't been answered. I know a lot of you don't have an hour and a half to go look at the recap, so I'm going to be putting that in this video alongside some really interesting tools that should help you with tracking some things like your spending. Should help you out in this video. Don't want to waste any more time, let's dive right on into it. So the question I still get a lot of is the start time as well as how to get access and pricing, and I want to address that very quickly. So the first things first, in order to start playing the game, is going to be on December the 6th at 11 AM PDT, so adjust for your time zone, and you can jump in and play as long as the servers are active and up. There's going to be two ways to get access. First off, you're going to pay for a supporter pack. The other way is if you have spent over $480 in Path of Exile 1, you can actively get it for free. I'm going to have a tool for you guys on screen now that you can see that I'll have linked down in the description, so you can track exactly how much you pay. And as you can see on screen now, you can just go to this website, go directly to the website that has PoE, go to your account, Control A, Control C, and then come over here, Control V, process data, and just like that, it'll show you just how much money you spent. You don't have to download any apps or anything like that, risk your computer getting hacked or viruses. Just go to this website. This will be linked down in the description so you can just use it. Very simple tool, but I got 740 spent. For those who are wondering, if you spent over $480 and you haven't received the key yet, keep in mind they're still rolling these out, so it should come over the next couple of days leading into the launch. So don't worry, you will get your keys. It just isn't active right now. For the rest of the people who haven't paid for it, you can just go to the website and go to the shop, and as you can see on screen now, you can just purchase a supporter pack for $30. This will give you 300 points, extended digital soundtrack, download, and access to Path of Exile. And if you want to, you can always upgrade to the next tiers, which will have previous tiers in them, and some of these will actually come with a couple of keys you can give to your friends. This will be active through the entirety of the early access, which will last anywhere from 6 months to a year, being the most extreme according to the development team. So early access will be this long. You have to pay during that period, and you can upgrade at any time if you want to. And if you want to play free to play, you have to wait until after the launch actually goes on. So that's information about how to get access and everything you need to know about that. Next, let's talk about ascendancies and classes that you can pick, because I get this question so much. There's two things I get a lot of. First off, it is if Necromancer is available in early access. This one I get so much, it's insane. You guys love Necromancer. When it comes to the Necromancer specifically, Jonathan and GGG said that they do not want to have specific classes like that where players are somewhat pigeonholed to specifically pick a Necromancer. There will be summoners, like for example the Infernalist will have synergies with summoning. The Gemling Legionnaire will probably be a fairly solid summoner, but as far as we know, there will be no dedicated Necromancer, and they don't want that, and it makes a lot of sense. You can pick a summoner, anyone can be a summoner. Obviously some are going to be better, but yeah, there won't be a dedicated Necromancer. The other thing is I see a lot of is which class is the best. Obviously, whatever you enjoy, but if you're looking for a general class, I think personally, I feel like the Gemling Legionnaire is going to be generally good because of the way he's designed. That's just my personal opinion of a player who's been playing for 10 years, but that's just how I would do it. Just make sure you pick what you like, because there's going to be a lot of discovery to be had. In terms of what the ascendancies are, I'm going to give you a very brief breakdown of what they do. There are going to be 12 total classes. First, there's going to be the Sorceress, which is going to have access to the Chronomancer, which is going to be someone who can stop time, rewind time, and do things like reset skills. Very simple, but very cool. There's the Stormcaller. This is the other ascendancy of the Sorceress, and she's going to be good at dealing lightning-based damage and storms, crits, and doubling damage. That's what we know of so far. She's probably going to function closer to an Elementalist, but that's what we know, and she looks really solid. For the Warrior archetype, you're going to have access to the Warbringer. The Warbringer is just going to be someone that uses summons like spirits, totems. They're going to use Power of the Earth as well as War Cries. The Titan's going to be the other warrior subclass, which is going to functionally be someone that uses a lot of slams, stuns, and just this big melee warrior that do these huge attacks and AoEs. And those are going to be the warriors that you need to know. Under the Witch archetype, there's going to be the Infernalist that has very strong summon synergies as well as fire synergies. This is going to be a class that you want to use for Ignite, and she can actually transform to a demon. She has a very strong demon theme. Then she also can become a Blood Mage, which uses the power of life and death to give herself some really sizable buffs to make her healthy and super tanky, as well as give her some crit power and things like that. That's really cool for a mage based class. For the monk, you'll have access to two subclasses as well. One will be the invoker. This is a master of elemental base abilities where you can cycle between different types of elements. It'll probably be more like a melee elemental, but yeah, this is one of them. And then the other will be Acolyte of Chalula. This will be someone that uses a lot of dark powers, as well as give you buffs and mana leeching, which is actually a very powerful mechanic. Personally, I think it's going to be the most powerful class in my opinion, though I won't be playing it. We also have the Ranger returning, which you'll have access to the Deadeye, which will be a very strong presence in dealing damage from a range, multiple projectiles, tailwind to make you move really fast, just a standard ranger that's really powerful. The other subclass will be the Pathfinder, which will focus on throwable flasks that have multiple, or concoctions in this case, that will be able to have different elements on them, as well as poison. These two classes are returning from Path of Exile, and they're about the same, some major differences, but about the same. And then finally, the classes I'll be playing, which will be the Mercenary, which will be the Witch Hunter, which functions at dealing some really big hits with like Culling Strike, huge explosions that can deal like AoE damage, as well as just initial hits that will chunk enemies, as well as just give you elemental resistances at the cost of armor and evasion. And on the other end, you'll have access to the Gemling Legionnaire, which will be a master of all in my opinion based on the way he works. He'll get extra benefits towards his skill gems. His skill gems will be better quality, and then they'll be fundamentally better. He'll have no attribute requirements on his gem, so he can use pretty much everything anyone would like hypothetically use. And of course, he'll have really good resistances, and this is why I think he's going to be the most balanced that can kind of do everything. Next, let's talk about the story and the acts, because this is kind of important. There's going to be a total of 6 acts, but you're not going to necessarily go to Act 4 through 6. You're actually going to go through Act 1 through 3. Once you get to about level 45, you'll basically do like a more harder version of it, and you'll go through Act 1 to 3 once again until you get to the end game to start doing the in-game systems. The reason for this is very simple. They didn't want to focus on doing more story content. They wanted to focus on the end game, and they were going to implement that later once we get closer to the full release. I think this is the best move because they already have half the story done, and then they really focus on the end game, and that's why you'll see most of this video, or at least the back half of this video, is very focused on the end game. And keep in mind, exploration is going to have a bigger focus. You'll be able to find passive things around the map that's going to be very beneficial to your character, so make sure you are aware of that because that's actually somewhat important in the game now. Rounding back to the Ascendancies, in order to get access to Ascendancies, you will need to do a Trial of Ascendancy. My PoE 1 player should be very familiar with this. And you'll have access to 2 forms of Trials of Ascendancy, a third coming in later. One will be Sanctum, and this is basically a roguelike system where you try not to get hit. You'll get a variety of buffs and debuffs, and you'll just go through a system very similar to a roguelike, but this is making a return. On the other end, you can choose to use Ritual as your way, and Rituals is just basically like a trial where things will happen within the area. Typically, everything you select will have a negative impact, but it will reward you with loot, and by the time you finish both of these activities, at the end they will have the way for you to ascend to whatever you want to be. You don't have to do both of them. You can choose which one you decide you want to actually do. I don't like Sanctum, so I will be doing the Trial Master one personally. When it comes to the end game, we will be going back to the Atlas, but the Atlas system is significantly bigger and even has some really notable changes that may be jarring to players. I think this will be the most jarring thing in all of Path of Exile 2 in my opinion. As I said, the mapping system is pretty massive, and the most notable change that you're going to see is, first off, you'll be able to actively see what's going on in the world. It's gonna have this huge world map system where you're gonna like move around. You'll have fog of war and things like that, and you'll have access to choosing what kind of bosses you want to face off against or what type of content you want to face off against. That will be marked on the map as you like go through it. The other thing that's super important, and this is the most important, is if you fail a map or die, basically if you die a singular time, you fail that map and you will have to go around that specific location to wherever you want to navigate. Keep in mind, if you end up just keep dying everywhere, there is going to be a way for you to hard reset this so you can like go back and, you know, do it again, or just like kind of rework it. But just keep in mind, this is the function of the Atlas system that's going to be jarring to a lot of players, so you want to make sure you're not dying. You will have 6 portals. Make sure you're using them. Just don't use them for death, basically. In terms of reoccurring systems that's coming back, we're going to get Invasion, which is the Strongboxes. You activate the Strongboxes, enemies will come out. You'll drop the loot if you kill them. You can use your currency to enhance the Strongbox to make it deal like get more currency and get more enemies. This is my personal favorite I'm going to be taking advantage of, so it's really nice. We're also going to be getting essence. There's going to be a monster set in a crystal. You free it. When you kill them, they'll drop an essence. This can be used to craft deterministic affixes on your gear. So these are actually pretty important in my opinion. We're also going to be seeing the return of Breach, which will have a pentacle boss as well, or multiple pentacle bosses I would say. In Breach, you basically activate the Breach. Enemies will come from the Breach and you will just try to kill as many as you can. Open clasped hands, and just know that this gear that dropped in the Breach will have very specific benefits, like having more quality to certain pieces of gear, as well as having better rings, which will have more life and things like that. So each of these individual systems will have things that are specific to them. Breach, for example, will have really good rings. Next, Ritual will be having a really awesome comeback as well, redesigned on the whole map as well. The arena looks really cool. Ritual, for those who are not familiar with it, you just go into this area, kill enemies, and then you will re-summon them in a ritual, kill them, and after you kill them, you'll be able to go into the ritual altar and select different types of rewards. If you don't have enough offerings, you can like use a portion of it and put it on layaway and come back once you do more rituals and just pay for it and things like that. It's a very currency rewarding in-game system, so that's going to be returning as well. We're also going to be seeing Delirium. You just go through the portal, enemies will spawn that are pretty delirious, and then as you continue to kill, it's like a speed kill kind of thing. You want to stay and avoid the mist, and once you get to the end of it, you'll build up a jackpot of loot, and the loot will explode at the very end. You'll get a lot of currency, so it's really cool. Currency and armor and gear, stuff like that. Final major in-game system will be Expedition. You'll basically have this huge graveyard of just different modifiers that you can blow up and basically release the monsters. Certain affixes will be present on those individual tombstones or those individual locations. You have to kind of navigate what your build is good or isn't good against, and then decide the rewards that you want to get. Each of the individual expedition masters will have their own benefit. One will be able to craft ROG, the other one will be able to give you currency. One of them is supposed to be able to give you gambling. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's present in the game because we haven't seen it, but that's what basically expedition is as a baseline. Overall, that is the recap and the nuanced information you need to know. Again, there has been a lot of videos coming out from very clear not Path of Exile players, and they kind of missed some important things I wanted to make sure you guys know. There will be a link down in the description if you want to see how much you actually earn, but that's pretty much the overview of the game. I'll be keeping you guys up to date so you know exactly what's coming in Path of Exile 2. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave me a like. That helps me out a ton. And just like that, Exiles, I'll see you in the next video very soon.